Hi, this is Lady Lex UK, and this is another Dreams tutorial. If you've been following my tutorials, then you know the last one was for level linking, and in that I used my first persistent variable to determine which door we had gone out of so that we could put our player in the correct place when they arrived back at our hub world. So I thought I'd do another tutorial on persistent variables and show you the ways that you might use them to create persistence in your dreams. So if you turn an object on, you go to a level and then come back, you want it still to be on, this is the way you would do it. Also, this is the way you would determine whether or not objects that you've picked up are then carried forward into your other dreams so that you've still got them collected. Right then, let's play. So here is my first level. In it I've got 3 totems. If you've seen my checkpoint tutorial, you'll recognise those. I've repurposed the asset. They're not checkpoints anymore, they are now collectible items. So I can go up to them, press triangle and collect my totem. The idea of this sort of thing would be a game where you have to collect all the totems that are scattered around a world. And I've got a counter at the top there that tell me how many totems I've collected. Right, I've put a level link in the corner, and that takes me to my second world, which has got a red floor and red totems. So let's collect the middle one. Now if you remember, we collected the first one on that last level, so we'll go back, and lo and behold, it is still lit up, and you can see the counter still says 2. It hasn't reset. When we come back to our first world, it's kept that number. So we also have in our world a sword. So let's pick up our sword. I'm now holding my sword. Let's go into our other level and see what happens to our sword. Yep, we still got our sword, and that totem is still lit up in the middle there. I can collect more, like so. Go back to our level. Yep, that's still collected. Go back again to see if all 3 are still lit. Yes, they are. So this is working exactly as we would hope. Right then, we'll exit this. As you'll notice, that is a dream because we're level linking. You have to level link. There we go. We have to level link our levels, and you'll notice I have a link here going into level 1. That's the entry point. So let's go into level 1 to first of all, because that's our starting point. We'll save that. It's important to update and save constantly when you're building these sort of things, otherwise you won't see the changes that you've made. Also, reset progress between tests. That's very important, otherwise you get yourself into a bit of a mess. Right, level 1. Let's have a look. Okay, so there is our entrance doorway. I wasn't particularly clear in my level linking tutorial because I wasn't 100% sure, but yes, when you change a doorway to a 2-way door, you will lose the link to the outside world, your entry point into the game. So you'll need to place a doorway that is set to be, if I just select it, set to be an entrance. It doesn't matter where it goes. It really isn't going to affect anything. Just stamp it in your world. It can go anywhere you like. I've got it over in that corner there. It doesn't really matter because you're going to start where you place your mannequin anyway. So there, you're only going to use that as the entrance doorway link. So you come back, you start in the world that you choose. Right then, here is our level link to our other world. I showed that in the previous tutorial, so I don't need to go through that. And here are our totems. So let's open the microchip in our first totem so you can see. Right. Some of this might be familiar from other tutorials. I've got a trigger zone. This will tell me if the player is close enough to activate the totem. This is linking to an AND gate. And at the B socket of the AND gate, I'm linking in the remote controller sensor. So set it to remote, do that first. Then we're linking that triangle button into our AND gate. And as a third option, there's a link from this calculator. And I'll explain that in a minute. So let's say you haven't collected your totem, you're in the trigger zone and you press triangle. What it's going to do, it's going to affect these two variable modifiers. It's going to turn these on. And what this one up here is going to do, it's going to look for the variable called totem1. And it's going to set that number to be a 1. Now this variable name is important. I like to choose them by using the D-pad. So you scroll through all the variables that are in your level to make sure that you get the right name, and you don't have to worry about typos or anything like that, which means you have to stamp your variable first. This is our variable, this is totem1. Each of these totems are going to have a unique variable that means them. So this is totem1, this is totem2, and this is totem3. So this totem1, its initial value is 0. It's got persist in dream in it, and I've linked that, its current value, into a calculator. So let's close it off. So we got our current value going into our calculator. Our calculator says if it's equal to 0. So if it's 0, the result, that's what's feeding into this AND gate. 0 means we haven't collected it yet. So if you're detected, you press a triangle button and we haven't collected it yet, that's what sets off this variable modifier. If we have collected it, so there's a NOT gate here, so if that's not true, it's not a 0, it's a 1, then we're going to set off this keyframe, like that, which turns the light on. So when you come back from your other level and it's setting that variable to be a 1, if it's a 1, it's on. That's the keyframe with the light. That's why it's persistent. This other variable modifier, this is looking for a variable called totems. I'm using this as a counter, and instead of setting it, we're going to add to it. So we're adding a 1 to the value of that variable, which is our count of totems we've collected. And as you can see, there is no totems variable in this microchip. They do not need to be in the same microchip to work. They can be anywhere in your level. And mine is in this microchip down here. Right, so in this microchip, I've got a set of variables. I've got our totems variable, and that's linked to our number displayer at the top right there. And we've also got totem 4, totem 5, and totem 6. Now we already know these totems have got 1, 2, and 3 in. Our other level has got 4, 5, and 6 in. In order for a variable to persist, it needs the same variable, a twin, to be in the other level. So totem 4 and totem 5 and totem 6 variables that are going to be 1 or a 0 are going to be passed when we come from that level, and that's what they're going to populate. And then when we go back to the other level, it's going to take these values and it's going to populate them inside the totems in that level. And we've also got a variable for the sword, which I'm going to look at now. So here is our sword. Ugh. I popped a microchip on it. This is a very nice sword I've just got out of the Dreamverse. Here is our microchip. It's very similar to the other collectible items. So we've got a trigger zone, and an AND gate, a remote control sensor, and a calculator. Right, so the calculator is saying if it's 0, hasn't been collected, then we are going to say yes, go for it, and we're going to change a variable modifier. This time we're changing a variable called sword. We're setting it to 1, exactly the same as the totems. Setting it to 1 to say we've collected it. And we've got an extra little AND gate here. This one says If you detect it and you haven't collected it, then we're going to show the triangle to say you can pick it up. And then we've got a not gate. So that's the not gate to say, no, 1, it's a 1 this time. If it's a 1, then we're going to destroy the sword. Now there's different ways of doing inventory and pick up things. I'm going to show you the simple way today. Obviously there are other ways you can do it. You can teleport your object to an inventory area. You can move it to a tag on your player. There's lots of things that you can do. I'm going to show you this method where you're going to actually destroy the sword. But you'll notice our variable for the sword is not in this microchip, because once we destroy the sword, we're going to destroy this microchip. So that is why the variable is in this chip. And in this chip, here is our sword variable. And it's checking this time to see if it is on. So it's checking, is it equal to 1? If it's equal to 1, that means we've picked it up. And we're going to set this keyframe. And what this keyframe does is turns the visibility on a sword that was always in our player's hand. We just couldn't see it. Now, you can use this variable and this calculator, is it 1, to activate other microchips. And in those other microchips you could have animations, button presses, things that would only apply if you actually had picked up the sword. And this is the same way as you would do a key. So if you picked up a key and that key equals 1, then that's a yes, and you can link that to a door that you can open, etc, etc. So you just query this. This is the variable that tells you whether or not you've picked up the sword. Right then, let's go out of here and go into level 2. And we didn't do anything to that, so let's go into level 2. Don't save. Let's go into level 2. Right, here's level 2. You'll see there's no doorway here because this is being linked to from this two-way door here. And in the microchip in this level, we've got the same. We've got totems and our number displayer, but this time we've got totem 1, totem 2, and totem 3. As you remember from the last one, you have to have their twin. This is the twin for the ones that are in the previous level. And here is the twin for the sword. It's saying, is it a 1? If it is, make it visible. There we go. It is as simple as that. So that's how you would use it. And obviously, using the variable as a boolean, as a switch, as a 1 or a 0, you can basically set the status of anything in your level, whether the door is locked, whether the machine has been turned on, whether the platform has been raised, and you can use that to reset everything back to their previous positions, as long as you have settings that say, okay, if it is a 0, position it here, if it is a 1, position it here. So you can have whole resets of things. You can use variables for that. So a player could have an option to reset everything in the level. Or like we have here, it's just a case of like, I've turned it on in this level, I've moved on to another level, I've come back again, I want everything to be as I left it. So that's how we've used variables. I hope that's been useful. Thank you for watching. As always, if you've got any requests for tutorials, I'm happy to see them in the comments. If I know how to do them, I will make a tutorial, or I'll try and work on them for you. I can't promise how quickly that will be, because obviously there's tons of things that I can make tutorials on. And some of them might be questions that I can't answer. If I think I'm not going to be able to, I will probably comment and say, I probably won't be doing a tutorial on that one, and if I can, I will direct you to somebody who might be able to help you. I am learning the same as you. I'm trying different things out, and I am sharing the knowledge as I'm learning it. So please leave your ideas for tutorials. I will try to get through them as quickly as possible. Thanks then, and I'll catch you in your dreams.